Brief update on progress of the capital improvements at the Council Park Water Treatment Plant. And AECom helped me put this presentation together. They're professional construction managers. I've been working side by side with us to get through the capital improvements. And this is it's a view of the plant with downtown Toledo in the background. And some of you may be familiar with this. It's a little small to see, but it's known as the two-pager. It's an update that Warren Henry had started putting together. We've got it all kind of put onto one slide here. And there's a PDF of the two-pager, the actual two-pager available if anyone is interested in it. We're currently in year 8 of 10 of the $500 million capital improvement program. And we've been working collaboratively, like I said, with our professional construction management team at AECom to keep the construction progress going forward. I've also worked well with our contractors, and the two primary general contractors right now are the Ozone joint venture and Shook. I guess one thing I would point out, sort of in the lower right-hand corner, is the program cash flow. And you can see really construction peaked in 2020, and we're on the downside now. Like I said, we're at 85% complete. And one of the things we're doing right now is going back through all the bond funds and making sure we've got projects closed out. And once they're closed out, see what we had left on that budget, and then get that budget moved over, hopefully with an intent of minimizing the last bond issue that was scheduled with the program. And then this is an overall diagram we've been using for a couple of years just to show basically that we've touched every bit of the process along the way, and the progress we've made from the improvements out at the intake in the lake to the low surface pumping station, early on work improvements, really prior to the CIP, the roof replacement, the new disinfection facilities, which have been done for quite a while now. And then more recent work like the ozone treatment system, ozone process, and basin refurbishment and the filters. And this is just an example schedule, some upcoming stuff, and the type of schedules we've maintained. Alum system improvements are kind of highlighted on this one. We're in the midst of a study right now that's sizing what our storage should be, and that is slated for construction and completion here by 2026. But this is more of, it's a little small to see, so it's more just an example of the type of schedules we've been maintaining. So into the projects, the filter and pipe gallery improvements, these are 72% complete, and we're actually in the operational demonstration period right now for filters 11 through 20. And this, once that operational demonstration is complete, we'll turn filters 1 through 10 over to the Ozone joint venture for refurbishment. And once that starts, the plant will be using only new granular activated carbon biologically active filters. We just won't have as much redundancy. We'll have full redundancy then once the filters 1 through 10 portion of the project is complete. You can see on the right a little animation there of the filters. That video does highlight, you can see actually the new filter bottom. That was video was taken during construction. We're testing out the new filter bottoms. The modern technology allowed us to remove a lot of layers of gravel and sand so that we can have thicker layers of granular activated carbon to support the biomass. And the work included a lot of refurbishment, reused a lot of piping, but it got repainted. And it's a more efficient process. There's an air scour now that's part of the backwash instead of a surface wash. It actually cuts down the water use a little bit per backwash and is a little more thorough in cleaning. The air has tends to break down, clean out the filter media a lot better. And then other projects, the Basin 1 through 4 improvements, those are 44% complete. Right now we are March 15th, we begin the operational demonstration for Basins 3 and 4. And once Basin, just like with the filters, once we have Basin 3 and 4 in operation, we're going to turn over Basins 1 and 2 to Shook, and we will be working with all new treatment basins, just without the redundancy of having 1 and 2. And 1 and 2 will be done by this time next year. Some of the big advantages of the refurbishment to Basins 1 through 4, we now have actual metered control. We have rate control going into the basins. In the past, we would have to judge the split. We knew how much flow was going to the pair of the basins, but we didn't really know what was going, in through each one. So we actually now have a mag meter in front of each basin. And the effluent launders at the end of the basin are also a big improvement. Those help assure that we get a plug flow through the settling basins and there's no short circuiting, so that every drop of water that goes in there is getting the same contact time and the same amount of treatment. And it's not, the sludge collection, spent lime collection is not a new technology. We've had good success. We maintain the chain of flight. And to the right there, you can see some of the construction for basins 3 and 4. That's another improvement with the effluent launders. We have better access to get into the settling basins for cleaning and maintenance at the end of the season. And it's also you go into that effluent launder room, the running water was kind of my zen place to go during the pandemic when there weren't many people in the plant. And it's very, very soothing, and it's kind of cool to see the water. You can actually see the flights when the treatment's really good and the water's good. And then the high service pump station, this one is still early in the process. Refurbishing pumps, refurbishing valves, just basically getting the rest of the plant or the rest of the high service pumping station up to, the 21st century. That picture on the left, you can see the old control panel and just the nest of wires that was in there. And it was, sometimes it was an adventure just to lift the panel to get in there to work on those. So that'll been replaced. We'll have a new control room, more PLC based, and it's a little sad getting away from the panels. They were really well made and kind of a nice Art Deco touch, but we did need to move into the 21st century. The pump refurbishment, it was good news. Typically those pumps have gone out to Kansas City or a long ways in the past, but Kennedy Industries up in Michigan now has a shop big enough to handle some of these large pumps, and that's pump 6 being lifted out, I do believe, which is pretty recent, and that we are expecting that back by the end of this month, refurbished. And then the valves, following what we did in our low service pumping station, the valve bodies, the housing is pretty good, but we take the internals out, take the disc out, and those get refurbished and the seats cleaned up, and the valve goes back in. So it's not, we're not purchasing, we've only purchased maybe 1 or 2 new valves. For the most part, they're well made and are being refurbished, and we'll have a good 40, 50 year service life, just like they've served us since 1941. And then we actually had one motor hadn't been worked on since it was installed in the 60s. A little hiccup, there was some asbestos in the bituminous coating, so we had just a little bit of delay with that motor, but the overall project is staying on schedule. And then finally, the new ozonation facility. We are still learning how to use the ozone facility, how best to use it. It is a little bit of a new paradigm for us because the ozone reacts so quickly to determine, what the optimal application rate is. It's not like chlorine where you apply it and you still have a residual a week later. I mean, the ozone is gone, particularly the warmer the water is. And we want to make sure that we're using it efficiently and are still working out. Like I say, it's a little bit of a paradigm. new paradigm to use ozone properly. And we have been working with the consultant. Recommended protocol for doing that. And we're excited about having ozone, particularly through the summer when we need it during ham season. And that was a very brief overview. Does anyone have any questions?
Andy, Kevin Aller here.
Hey, Kevin.
Not really a question, but just a statement. Only a water plant operator could consider old electrical panels artistic.
They were just so cool. Yeah.
It was definitely a sign of the times that everything was installed, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. We had one of our engineering technician at the plant went to Hoover Dam years ago, and they still had some of the same equipment we did, and they were talking about the age of it for the electrical switchgear. So yeah, it was time to move on.
This is Kari. I'm not a water treatment plant operator, but I think they're very artistic. In fact, when I had a tour of the place a few years ago, I had to post all over Instagram about it. So I'm wondering if there's any plan to move those to a museum or anywhere where they'd be on display as part of history.
Yeah, so some of the control panels have been moved into storage, but I don't know, there was an attempt with the Metro Parks to try and find a place to put them, and I don't know what became of that, but there are some that are stored, and I believe they came from the low service pumping station, similar design to what was in high service, but I really don't know the status of those. Can everyone see the video? Do I have the right, did I do that right?
Yeah, you did, we can see it.
Okay. And that's, we haven't had a chance to do drone footage again, but this is, I believe, from August. So right there with the crane, that's basins 3 and 4 when they had the roof off of it to start putting in the effluent launders.
Andy, this is Adam McDowell. Hey, how was supply chain? Was that a problem for you this project? Because it's killing us here.
So basins 7 and 8 went online just after the pandemic started, and we didn't really have any supply chain issues there. The ozone project ended up getting delayed a little bit, and we were able to work with the Ohio EPA to extend that deadline. And because they just had such troubles, they were really in the midst of their project, and social distancing, I mean, they did a good job. The electricians actually came in on a different shift so that, the millwrights or the pipe fitters, just so they could maintain a good social distance in the workplace. And there was some metal fabrication that I think they had to push a little bit on the contractor to push on their supplier. But there's some metal fabrications that were worried about delays, but yeah, just some of the ozone equipment, but thankfully the lake conditions were such that we were able to delay that a little bit. We have had some chemical procurement issues. Have you had trouble with chemical procurement recently?
Oh yeah, parts too.
Yeah, like our chlorine cost went up 300 or 400%, and we're not finding anyone who really wants to enter into a 1-year contract right now. And we're even looking into.
I think my chemicals overall went up like 35%, balanced out.
Yep, and the feed, like the chemical we feed for fluoride right now is we feed the powder hydrofluoric. And yeah, we feed the powdered form that's not manufactured in the United States, and that's gone up like 300 or 500%. We're actually doing a little, if costs don't rebound after things settle down from the pandemic, we're considering switching over to hydrofluorosilicic acid.
It's easy to feed. It's just dirty and gross.
Yeah, yep. That's just whatever glass is in the room and.
Yeah, whatever, with us right now, the VFDs are a real problem.
Okay,
And electrical switch gear, our generator's out 3 months, 4 months. We're about 2.5, at least 2.5 months behind schedule.
wow.
And if dates have slipped, and we've got real creative to keep us this good.
No, our high service pumping station project, we had actually, the VFDs and the switchgear were all part of our project. That was a couple years ago. We did a make ready, a power upgrade project. So all we're doing right now is refurbishment, and that's, there's really no procurement involved with that. It's more of a service. So, we send a unit out to be refurbished and it gets sent back. So yeah, thankfully we haven't had much trouble with that.
Yeah, it's getting worse too. That's the problem is we kind of thought maybe by now it would be improving, but it's actually getting worse, not better.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how long like these pandemic conditions hang on in the market.
Well, we have a large infrastructure bill that was passed too. It's like, we make the comments, I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do infrastructure when there's no product to put in the ground. Piping is way out. Piping is months, backlogged. It's big piping especially is a real problem.
Yeah, that's where we may see it, because we have, we're still in some property acquisition phase, but our distribution system model is complete. We have recommendations from a report associated with that for where to put some elevated tanks out in our system, and then some trunk main improvements associated with that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes once we get the property acquisition done. We move on to the next step here, and I believe it's August.
Great time to be in water treatment.
Yes, it is. We're actually getting a little bit better candidates, a little more interest when we're filling vacancies than we were pre-pandemic. I think like on the one hand, you hear bad things about the workforce, and I know, but I think there's people out there looking for something that is pandemic proof, that they're not going to get laid off or furloughed. And that might be good for, the utilities industry.
I don't know. My last job was, I only had like 5 or 6 applicants.
Oh, well.
So I don't know if it's going to get better, but it's got worse up to the last one I filled, but it's been about a year since I filled a position.
Yeah.
Plant looks good though, making a lot of good improvements.
Yeah, it's we're excited about it. We're still, like I say, we're still learning the ozone. Yeah, our next big hurdle is going to be see if we can find a better way to handle our spent lime. So,
And Andy, I've got a question. What was kind of the impetus for being able to do this upgrade project? Was it kind of related to the rise in HAB issues, or is it something where you finally you were able to get the money to be able to do a lot of these necessary upgrades?
yeah. So yeah, I started one of the first things when I started with the city in 2010. We were working on a 20-year master plan, and the intent had been to do all the improvements over a period of 20 years. But we had a couple of pumps fail literally within seconds of each other, a low service pumping station. And that kind of was a red flag. So EPA intervened a little bit. They did a pretty serious sanitary survey. And we as a result of that sanitary survey and then some negotiations, we went from what we had originally started out was going to be a 20-year master plan, and that got that whittled down into a 10-year master plan. And then the do not drink advisory certainly didn't. It was impetus to add ozone to that, and some of the HAB improvements that were done pretty quickly, between 2014 and 2015. But yeah, there was the city, the administration had recognized back in 2010 that they needed to overhaul the water treatment plant, and just a couple of failures, and EPA intervened, and it became a 10-year plan instead of a 20-year plan. and it was really incredible, and to get the, you know, the regional water worked out amidst all of this, it's been really, it's been a nice ride here. Since I've been with the city, and to get, you know, everything that's gotten done, it's actually pretty incredible.